Hey there, welcome to Craft Central Designs. I'm so pleased you're joining me today. I have for you a lovely, colorful spring floral wreath, chocked full of daisies and roses and many varieties of spring flowers and fillers. This wreath can be converted from spring to Easter and back to spring by simply changing the bow and inserting or removing the bunny. This one is so beautiful in all of the colors of spring and Easter. I hope you love this one and feel inspired to create one for your home or perhaps create one as a gift. If you are new to floral wreath design, I will instruct you step by step on how to arrange and insert your spring flowers into a grapevine wreath base. Here is the Easter wreath by simply placing the bunny in the wreath and adding a different bow. Now you have an Easter wreath, and then you can change it back after Easter. So I'll instruct you on how to do that. Welcome to my channel today. If you are not currently a subscriber and you enjoy this tutorial and find it helpful, I hope you will consider subscribing and as well share this tutorial and my channel with others. Please give this video a thumbs up, and as always, your questions and comments are always welcomed. Okay, let me show you how I created this lovely Easter spring floral wreath. I picked up this grapevine wreath at Hobby Lobby. You can also pick up this type of wreath at Michael's or Walmart. This particular one is 14 inches in circumference. Now this provides an excellent base for creating a floral wreath because it's very simple to just insert your flowers into that grapevine wreath base. And we'll talk more about that in just a bit. But first, let's talk about the flowers. Now, I purchased all of my spring flowers that I'm going to be using here in this tutorial. I purchased them, I believe, almost all of them at Hobby Lobby. This is a bunch that I purchased at Hobby Lobby. Now, I always purchase my flowers and greenery on the weeks that it's 40% off at Hobby Lobby. Now, I'm also going to tell you that Ashland floral and greenery at Michael's is also beautiful. And Joann's also has some beautiful, beautiful spring flowers. So up to you where you go, but I would suggest you always look for a sale because florals are not really, that cheap. So if you get them on sale, it's much more affordable. Now, I did pick up a couple of stems at the Dollar Tree. However, I am not a fan of just their flowers. Say, for example, their roses or other types of spring flowers. Their fillers, yes, I like them. The small florals, the very small florals that you can use for fillers, I like. Now, you perhaps remember that seeing me create these for the base of one of my bunny wreaths, and I didn't end up using them, so I'm going to use them in this wreath. Now, some of my florals did come from Michael's. Say, for example, that one right there. I love Michael's Ashland florals. They have beautiful, beautiful fillers. So you may want to try Hobby Lobby and also try Michael's. I mix it up. So wherever it's on sale, I'll go take a look at their florals and purchase what I think will go beautifully together on a wreath. I'm showing you here some greenery. Now, I wasn't sure at the onset exactly what or how much I was going to use. So I gathered greenery together just in case I needed to do any filling in of any areas. But as it turned out, those beautiful flowers really filled up my 14-inch grapevine wreath base very beautifully. You're going to need scissors and some pipe cleaners for making bows. You're going to need ribbon. Now, I often purchase beautiful ribbons on craftoutlet.com. I have chosen a number of different ribbons. I'm not entirely sure at the onset exactly which ones I was going to use, but I'm showing you here some beautiful options that go beautifully on a spring wreath. Now, I am going to be making 2 bows. I'm going to be making an Easter bow and then just a bow that would go on a spring wreath. And I'll show you that Easter bow later and the choices of ribbons that I had to create that. Now, what I'm doing here for this spring wreath is trying to choose ribbons that are really going to bring out the colors in the florals. So I'm trying to match the florals, or at least be in the same color family that, that it goes beautifully together and doesn't clash. So I have a burlap there, a couple of other ribbons from the Robert Stanley collection at Hobby Lobby, and I have a craftoutlet.com ribbon. So you do you. You can also find ribbons on Amazon. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is start preparing all of my flowers. And now I like to cut my stems off, my small stems off the main stem, because I like for everything to be at least semi-ready for me to start inserting into the wreath. So I like to do this and create the little piles of each of the varieties. And that way I don't have to do so much cutting with my wire cutters while I'm in my design mode, which I love getting into that mode and just having everything ready for me. Now, this was a big bush of daisies, gorgeous, honestly, a little high priced, but the daisies are pretty daisies and not flimsy daisies. And I really wanted really nice quality daisies. Now, I got this 40% off at Hobby Lobby. It's a really big bush of daisies. And nothing like daisies on a spring wreath. They're just so classic spring. And so I am not going to be using all of these daisies, of course, but I am going to cut off a pile of them and just kind of guesstimate what I think I'm going to use. I can always go back later and choose more. So that's where I'm going with that, just cutting everything or snipping everything off with wire cutters and just preparing everything as much as possible. Now I'm going to clean up my wreath a little bit, because whenever you buy a grapevine wreath, there'll always be little bits and pieces that are poking out and just looking a little messy. So I'm deciding here where I think I'm going to place my bow, and I'm thinking that I'm going to go around 8 o'clock. So I, as you can see, had went through all of my flowers and snipped off everything from the main stem that I thought I was going to use. Now this is from that very pretty bush of spring flowers that I showed you from Hobby Lobby. And they have 3 different color flowers on this spring bush. Now, don't ask me what the name of this flower is, because I'm really not sure. I'm certainly not an expert on naming all the flower varieties. But as I always say, I just know what looks pretty and what goes beautiful together on a wreath. And so I just went with cutting off all of those flowers off of that bush. Now I'm going to start placing these around my wreath. Now, what I go for here is balance and symmetry. So I want my wreath to be balanced in colors, in textures, and the varieties of flowers. I want to pay attention on my wreath to placing flowers not just on the top, but on the outer perimeter of the wreath and the inner perimeter, because you want that wreath fully covered with flowers. You should not be able to see that grapevine wreath base when you're finished. Now, as you can see here, I have 3 different colors of, it's the same flower, but it's the largest flower that I'm going to use. So that's why I am placing it on first. I like to place my largest flowers on a wreath first. Now I can see here the best length to leave a stem is right around 2.5 inches, so that when you poke it in, it's not poking out the back side. Now, I did not glue my large flowers in. When I place those flowers in the wreath base, I can feel they're going in there very snug. But you do you. If you would like to glue them with hot glue or any type of glue that you like, feel free, you do you. I'm not concerned about the flowers falling out. Now I'm going to go around again, as I mentioned, this entire wreath, and I'm going to place my flowers, trying to mix it up. There's a yellow and then a pink and then that kind of orchid color, and then I kind of start the pattern over again to avoid having the same color right next to each other. Now, you can do that as much as possible, but it's inevitable that something is going to be near to the other color, but that's okay. You won't really notice it so much when you have all of your fillers on. So this is going to be my main base, which is going to be my larger flowers. All the other flowers that I use and the fillers are smaller. And especially those really small fillers, which really add so much to a wreath. You'll be seeing those later. And I have a lot of varieties, and I'll be showing you each one of those as we go. But for now, I'm just continuing on here, placing my larger flowers. Now I like to use a nice sharp wire cutter here. Certainly don't try and use your scissors. That's a very quick way to ruin your scissors. But it's very handy and nice to have a nice sharp pair of wire cutters for floral design. And as you can see, we're all the way around now to where we started. And then I'm sure going to go around here and now start filling in like you see me doing there. See how I point my flowers toward the inside of the wreath? Because remember, you can see the wreath base when you look at the wreath on the inner perimeter. And why not cover it with beautiful flowers? The same with the outside. I just don't like when you see a wreath that only has the flowers sitting perched on the top. The wreath base should be covered with flowers when you're doing a solid floral base wreath like this. Now, of course, sometimes it's difficult to gauge exactly how much flowers to buy. So what I'm going to advise you to do is take your wreath that you're going to be using. If I've already purchased a wreath and you're in another, say, craft store, just go grab one. Grab a 14-inch wreath of any variety and just take it around with you and just lay your flowers across it and try and guesstimate how much you're going to need to cover the wreath. Now, you could do this by simply finding an empty shelf area, place the wreath down, and just kind of lay your stems across it. Now, of course, it's not an exact method to get it precisely, but it's better to overestimate what you'll need than underestimate. You can always use those florals that you don't use on another project. All right, so I am still busy here covering that wreath base as much as possible with all of those spring flowers. Okay, now I'm going to start working with some of my smaller stems. Now these are some little baby tulips. These came from Michael's, I believe. Now when I start using anything with really short stems, I do use hot glue. So it's mostly the larger flowers with the thicker stems that really grab onto that grapevine wreath that I don't really hot glue those. But when I start adding fillers and I start adding smaller stems, it's very likely that I'm going to use some hot glue like you see me doing here. I just put it on the stem, poke it in, and it will grab onto the wreath, the grapevine wreath. I have some purple roses in there. I think those are purple roses. And I think I'm placing around all of my tulips. Now, I am going to go in a clockwise direction around the wreath. So you're going to see me when I place on there something like tulips that I am following a clockwise direction on the wreath. Now, you'll see when I put those tulips in there what I mean. But imagine your wreath is a clock and you're going around the clock. And that's how the direction in which I am placing a lot of my florals that's going on this wreath. So right now I'm just placing, I think, around 4 stems of those little baby purple and orchid tulips. Very classic springtime flower to use on a wreath. I have some little baby roses there in the middle. Love purples, orchids, pinks, and yellows on a spring wreath. Now I'm going to place those tulips around, and you could see how they are taking on a direction as they go around the wreath. See how I'm facing them all in a clockwise direction? And you can already see that this wreath is starting to fill up. Now, again, up to you, if you want to use hot glue, my preference is Gorilla Hot Glue. I never have trouble with my wreaths in the outdoor elements falling off of my wreaths. And I live in a very hot climate in Florida. So I trust Gorilla Hot Glue. I think it's an awesome glue. All right, now I'm going to take those 5 roses that I actually prepared with some baby's breath around them. I was going to use these on a bunny wreath that I recently made. You can see that baby's breath around them. But I ended up not using them, but I knew I would find a use for them, and I certainly did. So I'm facing, again, in a clockwise direction. I'm putting those beautiful pink roses on this wreath, and I had 5 of them. And these were a very beautiful soft pink. So I do have different shades of pink, different shades of orchid, and some purple that's going to go on this wreath. Next, I'm placing daisies. Now notice how my flowers are getting smaller as I place them on the wreath. Nothing like daisies on a spring wreath. Absolutely love daisies. And so these make me happy to place these on the wreath. Now some of my daisies are bigger and some of them are smaller. So that works fine for me, because I can always find a little spot here or there to place them. So I'm going to go around the wreath and place daisies all over the wreath, wherever I could find a suitable spot. Notice how I place them facing the outside of the wreath, and I'm going to place them on the inner perimeter, on top of the wreath, all around the wreath. Look how beautiful. I do group, sometimes I group my flowers together. Like you see the 3 daisies there? Sometimes I will group them together. I love the effect of that. But then I'll also place them singular as well, here and there around the wreath. But you see how this wreath is just coming alive with spring colors. Now I'm going to start using some fillers. Now this little floral I got from the Dollar Tree, occasionally they have a pretty filler flower. But yes, like I said, I would certainly not recommend roses from the Dollar Tree or some of the other flowers. I'm sorry, Dollar Tree, but they're very flimsy and they're just not authentic looking. You know, the more high-end florals, and by that I mean the ones that you could purchase at Hobby Lobby and Michael's and Joann's. Those are the ones that create a truly beautiful wreath. And that's just my feeling about it. I love Dollar Tree for some things, certainly not for florals that I want to create a high-end looking wreath. If you purchase them on sale, they're really not that much more. By the time you pay $1.25 for each stem at the Dollar Tree, I personally don't think that's such a great deal anyway. So that's my feeling about that. Okay, so I have these gorgeous fillers. Oh my goodness, the one in my hand, those are Michael's. Now I'm going to be popping those in all over the wreath. Now remember, texture and variety, symmetry, balance your wreath. Make sure you're covering your wreath and that you're distributing the colors and the textures. Now, what I do with my fillers, and you may think, wow, well, there's no room on that wreath, but yes, there is. There's plenty of room for these beautiful fillers. And what you're going to see me doing now that I have all of my primary flowers on, I am going to be adding fillers, and this gives it so much beauty and so much texture. So I'm just poking my greenery in here and there. Usually what I do is I do like one type of greenery and I distribute it all over the wreath. Then I go and I take another type of filler. I meant to say filler. And then I do that all over the wreath. And I just do it like one variety at a time. And that's the way I do. Now, I have another one here in my hand. It's so beautiful. That one, I believe, is from Michael's as well. It's a very pretty kind of lavender-looking filler. Look how pretty that is. And that just adds another texture and another shade and another beautiful addition to this spring wreath. Now, as I mentioned, you can make this wreath for spring and create a bow with spring colors to bring out the colors in your wreath. But you can also, when Easter comes closer, you can take that bow off of the spring wreath by simply undoing the pipe cleaner in the back. That's how you attach it. Very easy to remove, and place an Easter bow on there. And I'm going to show you, we're going to do a real simple bunny from the Dollar Tree. We're going to cover a bunny with scrapbook paper, and I'll show you how you can attach that to sit cradled in the center of that wreath, and then you'll have an Easter wreath. And when Easter's over, you simply remove the bow and place your spring bow back on the wreath. and just remove the bunny. And all of that is so easy to do because it's only going to be attached to the wreath by pipe cleaners or chenille stems, whatever you want to call them. And then we'll make a summer wreath together on my channel, which of course I'll be doing that when the time comes. Now I'm adding a filler that looks like little white seeds or pods. Love to add that. It adds a certain type of texture. See those? Yeah, beautiful on a wreath. Look how gorgeous this is becoming. This just screams spring. Love the colors on this. Those daisies really pop. Now I found this, it's kind of like a eucalyptus, but it's tipped in orchid. And I just put that piece in there. It's in my hand right there, but it looks like little eucalyptus, but the tips of the leaves are orchid. So yeah, I thought it was really pretty. And again, this is adding another type of texture to this wreath. So I'm going around and finding little spots here and there. Now I do have to glue those in because they have short stems. But it's very simple. You just put some hot glue on the tip and then poke it into the grapevine wreath. Now I have these little tiny, little baby purple roses. These are going to be beautiful in this wreath. And I'm going to take those and pop them around in different areas, making certain that I am covering the inner perimeter and the outer perimeter of that wreath. And those just added so much beauty to this wreath. I believe I had maybe 6 of those. And a lot of my florals that I'm using on this wreath were florals that I had left over from other projects. That's what I mean. If you buy an excess amount, that's fine. Put them in a bin, and then when you go to make a wreath, check out and see what you have in there. That's what I do. I'm kind of a floral hoarder. Okay, I admit it, because I have bins of them. But I always seem to find myself at Hobby Lobby or Michael's buying just a few new stems because I love doing it. Okay, so now I am popping my spools of ribbon in the middle of that wreath because I want to see what looks good with that wreath. What colors go well? Do my pinks coordinate? Do my orchids coordinate? And I decided to go with a white burlap, a purple, or it's kind of an orchid white polka dot. That one I got on craftsoutlet.com. The white burlap I got, that's a Robert Stanley. I got that 40% off at Hobby Lobby. The yellow with the white polka dots is a Robert Stanley from Hobby Lobby. Again, 40% off. And then that pink one that looks kind of like, it almost looks like a tweed fabric. That one I got on craftsoutlet.com. There are so many possibilities. I mean, if I love craftsoutlet.com, and I would always advise, if you want to find some gorgeous, high-quality ribbons with a huge variety to choose from, I would go to craftsoutlet.com. They have excellent service. I always get my materials that I order from them within like 3 or 4 days. They're very prompt, and I think their prices are good. The quality is certainly good. All right, so I am creating a bow, and if you have never, look what somebody did. Oh, do I hate when that happens? The manufacturer pieced that ribbon together, and I would not be happy except for the fact that I was able to take that area where they pieced that ribbon together and just camouflage it right into the middle of the bow where you'll never see it. But I would not be happy if that happened with different circumstances. That's something that annoys me because, ribbons are not cheap and you don't expect to see that kind of thing, but it does happen. It does happen many times to me through the years. So I have bow tutorials. Now, as you can see here, I have a unique way, apparently, because I don't see anyone else doing my type of bows, and everyone tells me it's unique. So, I have bow tutorials to show this unique way of creating a bow. I think it's an excellent method. I think it's an easy method, but it requires watching the tutorial, and it requires sitting down with some spare ribbon that you don't care about to practice with. There's a certain technique involved, but once you got it, once you understand the construction of the bow, you're all set, and you will be so happy when you can create bows like this. So this is going to be the base bow. This is a beautiful wired 2.5-inch white burlap. Now, this was going to be the base of my bow, but you're going to notice later that I ended up taking this one out, and not because it didn't go or it didn't look pretty. It just made the bow a little bit too bulky and big for that size wreath. So I'm going to end up using 3 different ribbons instead of 4. Now to take that bow out of to take that layer or that bow out of the bow was so easy, because the way that I connect all of my bows that I layer into a mixed ribbon bow, I simply do it by taking a pipe cleaner and attaching them together. So all I had to do was untwist the pipe cleaner, take that layer of the bow out, and I was all set. Now I'm telling you, this is such an easy, versatile bow where you can make changes once you have it already put together, as I just described to you. You can add, you can take away. Just so easy. To fold over the loops, you pinch it in the center, decide how many loops you want on your bow. Everything is being held in the center by my thumb and my index finger. And I'm always twisting my ribbon before I fold over my loop. That's why I always see the right side of my ribbon, because I'm doing that little twist. So on my particular bow, I left around 14 inches for a tail. Now the way that I secure my loops is by using a half a pipe cleaner. Wrap it around the center, and now that pipe cleaner is holding all of those loops together for me. So that was originally going to be layer number 2. But what I'm doing here is creating a mixed ribbon bow. Now, there's nothing like a mixed ribbon bow to add beautiful color and texture and visual interest to a piece. Now, as I create the bows that go on top of one another, I make the loops smaller. With each bow that goes on top, I make it just a little bit smaller. So I started out with 12-inch loops on my white burlap. Then I went down to 10-inch loops on the yellow polka dot. Now on my orchid, I'm doing 9-inch loops. Now I don't measure my loops, but I'm just telling you that for reference. When you start doing bows on your own, you might want to use a measuring tool just to help you get your loops symmetrical. I've been making these bows for literally around 30 years, so yeah, I kind of got it down pat now. So yeah, I don't have to use any measuring tools. But yeah, thousands of bows later, I'm pretty proficient at doing this bow. Okay, so this is another layer of my bow. And look at the pretty loops. They're all symmetrical. I'm opening up my loops now to receive what's going to be the top bow on this mixed ribbon bow. Now this is that ribbon. Now this is a 1.5 inch, and you can use a 1.5 inch mixed with 2.5 inch ribbons. I do it all. I mix it up, and I have like, oh my goodness, so many ways to make a bow. Because once you learn the basic construction of this bow, you can do anything. You can mix ribbons. You can make them as big or as small as you want. You can create as many loops or as few loops as you like. Always I use wired ribbon. Now I'm going on and on about a bow today because I'm just trying to inspire you to sit down with my bow tutorials, which are in my playlist. I have multiple, to try and learn how to make this bow. Just at least give it a try. So, I created only a 4-loop bow on this one, and I put one little single loop going right down the center, and that's how I finish the center of my bow. I always have a center to my bows. Always. That creates a beautiful bow. Now, one more thing about bows. I am going to be doing a bow tutorial on all the different types of bows that I do on my channel. This one is going to be included in that. My figure 8 bows are going to be included, as well as bows that I create on my beautiful wood block bow maker. So I'm going to do a kind of a really extensive tutorial to try and get you motivated and knowledgeable about how to create beautiful bows, because the one thing that I hear more than anything else about my wreaths is my bows are beautiful. And you too can do that. This is not that hard. Right, so what I'm doing now is stacking my bows. The white is on the bottom, the yellow, then the orchid, then the pink's going to go on the top. Now, as I mentioned later, when you see my wreath in the reveal, you saw it at the onset, you'll see it at the end. You'll notice that the white burlap one is missing. Just, again, because I felt that it made it really, really big and a little too big for that wreath. So everything is relative. You want that to balance out to the size of your wreath. So removing that heavy burlap ribbon really helped. So after I stacked my bows, I just popped a pipe cleaner through the center, brought it around the back, twisted it tightly, and now all of those loops and bows are connected and ready to go on a wreath. Now I have in the back there, I have pipe cleaner tails, and that is how I'm going to connect that bow to the wreath. Now, as long as those tails are long enough, I should be able to poke them right through the grapevine wreath. If they're not, and you notice that after putting them around the bow, that you really don't have very much in the way of length on your tails, take a fresh new pipe cleaner out, a 12-inch, pop it through the center of your wreath, wrap it around, and then you will have more length. The important thing is being able to have enough pipe cleaner to poke through the grapevine wreath to attach it. All right, let's talk about how we can make this an Easter wreath. I have the $1.25 wood rabbit from the Dollar Tree. Love this rabbit. So cute. I'm going to cover it with scrapbook paper. This is a pink scrapbook paper with white polka dots from Joann Fabrics. Now be sure you're covering it properly so that your bunny is going to be covered and sit covered in the proper direction. Okay, you don't want to, put your scrapbook paper on the the side that's not going to allow you to set your bunny properly or as you want it on your wreath, I take a pencil and I trace around that bunny, and I'm going to cut it out. I'm only going to cover one side on this one. Now I'm going to paint the sides of my bunny because I don't like that wood not finished on this bunny. And I think white is fine because I have white polka dots in the scrapbook paper. But I definitely would not skip painting the sides of that bunny. I think that's very important for a finished look. Now, I'm doing a quickie here. As you can see, I really don't make bows this fast. But you already watched me make a bow, so I'm going to spare you and just show you this, and obviously sped up. But I have these beautiful Easter ribbons. Oh my gosh, look at the pretty colors in there. This one is a craftoutlet.com ribbon, and so, so pretty. This is going to be the base, and I know I'm only going to use 3 types of ribbons because I learned that from creating the first one for the spring wreath. So I have 3 loops on each side of this bow. Everything is all shaped and held together with a pipe cleaner. Now I'm going to use that beautiful orchid. Oh my goodness, do I love this on this wreath. You can see it just picks up those orchids in that wreath so beautifully. So I'm creating another bow, 3 loops on each side. The bow loops are a little bit smaller. Pipe cleaner around. Cut off my tails, leaving around 14 inches for, I like to have tails trailing down from my wreaths. That's layer number 2. It's going right on top of that other one. And this is the top. And it's a 1.5 inch beautiful cloth ribbon with bunny rabbits. Again, picking up all the colors in that wreath. 3 loops on each side. And again, here you can see I'm using a 1.5 inch with my 2.5 inch. It's beautiful like that. Loop down the center. I like my bows finished. Cut off my tails. And now I'm just going to stack those one on top of another. I do cut off my excess pipe cleaners on the back of those so that I can get a nice flush application, one bow on top of another. There goes the orchid. I align the centers of my bows. And there's layer number 3. Look how pretty that is. Love mixing patterns. So I just put all my bows together. And now I will just adjust my tails and trim them up once I get them on the wreath. And that's going to be attached around, I want to say 7 to 8 o'clock on that wreath, just like the other bow on the spring wreath. So now I'm just putting a layer of Mod Podge on here, and I've been told that the Elmer's glue stick works great for this. I'm going to try that if I can remember to purchase one when I'm out at the store next time. But I love this method too. Honestly, I've always done it this way, and I find it to be very easy to do. And I'm going to place my scrapbook paper on my bunny. I love this Dollar Tree bunny. They also have another one, a short one, kind of plump, that's at Hobby Lobby. It's a shorter rabbit. It's not standing on its, up on its, I guess it's on its hind legs there. It's more like just kind of lying down. So it's a chunkier rabbit. So, but I think this one fits very nicely in that wreath. Now I'm thinking about what am I going to put in the center of my bow? Because of course that bunny needs a little something at the neck. So I'm going to take a white ribbon. And I'm going to use this one with the stitching that goes along the side. One of my favorite ribbons from Walmart. And I'm just going to create a little figure 8 bow. So I take my ribbon, I'm in my hand, but first I'm going to get my wire ready, I see. Now I'm either going to use that or a daisy, and I did end up using a daisy, a very tiny one from Hobby Lobby. So pretty. I just take my hand and kind of smooth that out, make sure there's no bubbles, but I honestly don't get bubbles with that beautiful scrapbook paper. It's very sturdy and thick. Okay, so I'm making a figure 8 bow here just by folding my loops under and over, then under and over. So essentially what I have there is 2 figure 8s. Now again, I'm going to do a video to show you step by step how I do that. Then I take my floral wire, 26 gauge. I picked this up at the Dollar Tree. I like to use this wire because I can camouflage it very easily, being such a thin wire. Down the center of the bow, pull it really, really tight, scrunch up the center, and really twist that. This helps to gather up that ribbon, and this creates the prettiest little bow. I believe I'm placing this at the neck of the bunny. I'm pretty sure I did. I just angle my tails. I'm not a dovetailer unless I do ribbons, ribbon bundles on a wreath. I love angled tails. Now I'm going to be popping that little tiny daisy right in the center of that bow. Yes, it's going on the neck there. I thought about a baby rose, which would have looked cute as well. But ultimately I decided on this little teeny tiny daisy, which I think looks really adorable, and the center of that bow on the neck of that bunny. And that just dresses the bunny up a little bit. Now to place this bunny on the wreath, I'm going to show you. We're going to put a pipe cleaner on the back with a little piece of felt to hold it. Now, if you don't want to permanently attach your bunny, maybe you want this wreath just for Easter, in which case just go ahead and you could just go ahead and glue it along with the pipe cleaner to the curvature of the inside of the wreath. It's kind of just going to cradle that bunny. But if you want to be able to take it off, you can attach it with pipe cleaners. Okay, so we have our bunny all ready. All right, here's the back of the bunny. Now right down at the base, you're going to put a pipe cleaner. Now notice there's going to be 2 tails. I'm going to take a little piece of felt and put that over there just to hold it. Now if you're not going to glue this to the base or the inside of the wreath, you will take those pipe cleaner tails, press your bunny right to the wreath inside, and then take your tails and wrap them around the grapevine, the little pieces of wood and the grapevine. And the truth is that once that bunny's in there, it's got the florals to help hold it as well. So, it's up to you if you want to do it that way. Just keep that wreath for Easter. Or if you want to make it temporary, just attach it with the pipe cleaners. I put a loop with a full-size pipe cleaner, attached it, poked it right through the grapevine. And now this is the Easter version of the wreath. Now that bow and those florals help to hold the ear. And it's going to be on your door. It's not going to be moving around. So it should just sit there nicely. Or the biggest thing that can happen is you put a little bit of hot glue on the bottom of the bunny and just peel it off afterward if you're having a problem getting it to sit still. But I think it'll be fine. This is the Easter version. And then, of course, without the bow and rabbit, you have spring. Okay, until next time, you all take care.